The Practice of Everyday Life is a book by Michel de Certeau, a French sociologist and Jesuit priest, first published in 1980, original French title, L'Invention du Quotidien. In this influential work, de Certeau explores the ways in which individuals navigate and resist dominant structures and systems in their everyday lives. The book is divided into two main sections: the practice of everyday life, and the practice of history. In the first section, de Certeau introduces the concept of tactics and strategies. He argues that while institutions and systems operate according to strategic plans and designs, individuals employ tactical maneuvers to negotiate and subvert these structures in their daily activities. Tactics, according to de Certeau, involve the creative and often subtle ways in which individuals make use of the resources available to them to assert their agency and achieve their goals within the constraints of social, political, and economic systems. De Certeau's analysis encompasses a wide range of examples, from walking in the city to reading, cooking, and other mundane activities. He examines how individuals engage in practices of consumption, production, and cultural expression that are often overlooked or dismissed as insignificant but are actually sites of resistance and creativity. In the second section, The Practice of History, de Certeau reflects on the role of historians and intellectuals in interpreting and representing everyday life. He critiques traditional historical methodologies that prioritize grand narratives and official accounts of events, arguing for a more nuanced approach that acknowledges the agency and creativity of ordinary people. Overall, the practice of everyday life has had a significant impact on fields such as cultural studies, sociology, anthropology, and urban studies, challenging scholars to reconsider the ways in which power operates in everyday interactions and highlighting the importance of individual agency and resistance in shaping social reality. The Practice of Everyday Life, by Michel de Certeau, is a seminal work that delves into the intricacies of everyday human experience, offering a profound analysis of how individuals navigate and resist dominant structures in their daily lives. The book is divided into two main sections. The Practice of Everyday Life, de Certeau introduces the concepts of tactics and strategies. He argues that while institutions and systems operate according to strategic plans and designs, individuals employ tactical maneuvers to negotiate and subvert these structures in their daily activities. Tactics involve the creative and often subtle ways in which individuals make use of the resources available to them to assert their agency within the constraints of social, political, and economic systems. De Certeau explores various examples, such as walking in the city, cooking, reading, and other mundane activities, to illustrate how individuals engage in practices of consumption, production, and cultural expression that are sites of resistance and creativity. The Practice of History. In this section, de Certeau reflects on the role of historians and intellectuals in interpreting and representing everyday life. He critiques traditional historical methodologies that prioritize grand narratives and official accounts of events, arguing for a more nuanced approach that acknowledges the agency and creativity of ordinary people. De Certeau emphasizes the importance of recognizing the significance of everyday practices and experiences in shaping social reality. Throughout the book, de Certeau challenges readers to reconsider the ways in which power operates in everyday interactions and highlights the importance of individual agency and resistance. His analysis has had a profound impact on fields such as cultural studies, sociology, anthropology, and urban studies, inspiring scholars to explore the complexities of everyday life and the ways in which individuals assert their identities and autonomy within broader social structures. Here are some of the main arguments presented in The Practice of Everyday Life, by Michel de Certeau, along with examples to illustrate them. Tactics versus strategies. De Certeau distinguishes between tactics and strategies. Strategies are the plans and designs implemented by institutions or those in power to maintain control and exert influence. Tactics, on the other hand, are the creative and often subtle maneuvers employed by individuals to navigate and subvert these structures. Example: in the context of urban space, city planners and authorities might implement strategic designs such as zoning regulations or architectural plans to control the flow of people and resources. However, individuals might employ tactics like walking the city, in ways that deviate from prescribed paths or use of public spaces for unauthorized activities, thus asserting their agency within the constraints of the urban environment. Everyday practices as sites of resistance. De Certeau argues that everyday practices such as cooking, reading, shopping, or even walking are not just mundane activities but are also sites where individuals exercise agency and resist dominant power structures. Example: consider the act of reading. While authors or publishers may produce texts with specific intended meanings or messages, readers engage with these texts in diverse and often unpredictable ways. They may reinterpret or subvert the intended meaning, creating their own understanding or even using the text as a tool for resistance or critique. Ordinary people as historical actors. De Certeau challenges the notion that history is solely shaped by grand narratives or the actions of elites. He argues that ordinary people, through their everyday practices and resistances, also play a significant role in shaping social reality and historical change. Example: in the context of colonial history, de Certeau might examine how colonized populations adapted and resisted colonial rule through everyday practices such as language use, cultural expressions, or acts of defiance in daily interactions, contributing to broader processes of decolonization and social transformation. The role of space and place. De Certeau emphasizes the importance of space and place in shaping social practices and power dynamics. He explores how individuals appropriate and transform spaces through their everyday activities, thereby challenging dominant spatial configurations and hierarchies. Example: in urban environments, marginalized communities may reclaim neglected or contested spaces for purposes such as community gatherings, artistic expression, or political activism. These acts of spatial appropriation represent a form of resistance to the dominant order and an assertion of alternative social identities and values. Overall, the practice of everyday life offers a rich and nuanced analysis of the ways in which individuals navigate, resist, and reshape the social, cultural, and spatial contexts of their everyday existence. Here's a deeper analysis of some key aspects of The Practice of Everyday Life by Michel de Certeau. Power and resistance. One of the central themes in de Certeau's work is the dynamic relationship between power and resistance in everyday life. He argues that while institutions and dominant structures exert power through strategic designs and control mechanisms, individuals exercise agency and resistance through tactical maneuvers. By focusing on the ways in which ordinary people navigate and subvert these structures in their daily practices, de Certeau highlights the complexities of power dynamics and the multiplicity of strategies employed by individuals to assert their autonomy. Space and place. De Certeau's analysis of space and place offers insights into the ways in which social practices are shaped by and shape spatial configurations. He emphasizes the importance of everyday spatial practices in challenging dominant spatial hierarchies and configurations. Through examples such as walking in the city or the use of urban spaces, de Certeau illustrates how individuals appropriate and transform spaces, thereby contesting established power relations and asserting alternative modes of existence. Agency and creativity. The practice of everyday life underscores the agency and creativity of individuals in navigating and transforming their everyday experiences. De Certeau argues that even within the constraints of social, political, and economic systems, individuals exercise agency through their everyday practices, which are often characterized by improvisation, bricolage, and adaptation. By foregrounding the creative tactics employed by ordinary people, de Certeau challenges deterministic views of social life and highlights the capacity of individuals to enact change within their immediate environments. Historiographical implications. De Certeau's critique of traditional historical methodologies has significant historiographical implications. He challenges the privileging of grand narratives and official accounts of history, arguing for a more nuanced understanding that acknowledges the agency and contributions of ordinary people. By centering the practices and experiences of everyday life, de Certeau offers a new perspective on historical analysis that emphasizes the multiplicity of voices and narratives that shape the historical landscape. Cultural critique. Through his examination of everyday practices such as reading, cooking, and shopping, de Certeau offers a cultural critique that exposes the ways in which dominant cultural discourses are negotiated and contested in everyday life. He highlights the subversive potential of mundane activities, showing how individuals creatively reinterpret and resist dominant cultural norms and meanings. In doing so, de Certeau invites readers to reconsider the significance of seemingly trivial practices in shaping cultural identities and social relations. Overall, the practice of everyday life offers a rich and multifaceted analysis of the complexities of everyday existence, challenging readers to rethink conventional understandings of power, agency, and resistance in social life. De Certeau's work continues to inspire scholars across disciplines and remains a seminal text in the study of everyday practices and social dynamics. The Practice of Everyday Life by Michel de Certeau holds significant relevance and has had a lasting legacy in various fields due to its contributions and impacts. Significance. the book fundamentally shifted scholarly perspective by focusing on the often overlooked practices of everyday life. It challenged traditional views that primarily emphasized macro-level structures and elite actors, instead highlighting the agency and creativity of ordinary individuals in navigating and resisting dominant power dynamics. Relevance. De Certeau's analysis remains highly relevant today, as scholars continue to explore the complexities of everyday life in diverse cultural, social, and historical contexts. The concepts of tactics, strategies, and the everyday have been applied across disciplines such as sociology, anthropology, cultural studies, urban studies, and history, informing research on topics ranging from consumer culture to urban spatial practices. Legacy. The practice of everyday life has left a lasting legacy in academic scholarship and intellectual discourse. It has inspired numerous studies and theoretical developments that build upon de Certeau's insights, contributing to ongoing conversations about power, resistance, agency, and the construction of social reality. Contribution. De Certeau's contributions to the study of everyday life include the development of concepts and frameworks that have become foundational in various disciplines. His conceptualization of tactics and strategies, as well as his emphasis on the significance of ordinary practices, has provided scholars with analytical tools for understanding how individuals negotiate and shape their lived experiences. Impact. The impact of the practice of everyday life extends beyond academia to broader cultural and social contexts. It has influenced activism, art, and cultural movements by highlighting the potential for resistance and subversion in everyday practices. Moreover, the book has resonated with readers seeking to understand the complexities of power dynamics in their own lives, prompting reflections on agency, identity, and social change. In summary, the practice of everyday life continues to be a seminal text that has shaped scholarly inquiry, influenced intellectual discourse, and inspired critical reflections on the significance of everyday practices in shaping social reality. Its enduring relevance and legacy underscore its importance as a foundational work in the social sciences and humanities. Michel de Certeau (1925–1986) was a French Jesuit priest, philosopher, and scholar who made significant contributions to the fields of sociology, anthropology, cultural studies, and history. Born in Chambéry, France, de Certeau's early education was heavily influenced by his Catholic upbringing, leading him to join the Society of Jesus Jesuits in 1944. De Certeau pursued studies in theology, philosophy, and history, eventually earning a doctorate in theology from the Institut Catholique de Paris. He later studied under the renowned French historian and philosopher, Henri-Irénée Moreau, whose influence shaped de Certeau's interdisciplinary approach to scholarship. Throughout his career, de Certeau served as a professor and researcher at various institutions, including the University of Lyon, the University of Paris, and the École des Hautes Études en Sciences Sociales. He also spent time in North America, teaching at universities such as the University of California, San Diego, and Yale University. De Certeau's work is characterized by its innovative and interdisciplinary nature, drawing on insights from philosophy, sociology, anthropology, psychoanalysis, and history. He was particularly interested in the ways in which individuals negotiate power dynamics and assert agency within social, cultural, and spatial contexts. His most famous work, The Practice of Everyday Life, 1980, explores the tactics individuals employ to navigate and resist dominant structures in their daily lives, offering a nuanced analysis of everyday practices and their significance in shaping social reality. The book has had a profound impact on fields such as cultural studies, sociology, anthropology, and urban studies. In addition to The Practice of Everyday Life, de Certeau authored several other influential works, including The Writing of History, 1975, and Heterologies, Discourse on the Other, 1986. His interdisciplinary approach and insightful analyses continue to inspire scholars and students across the globe, cementing his legacy as one of the most important thinkers of the 20th century.